Hello and welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us today. Of course, this is the Money Show reaching you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Nancy. Today we will be looking at the social intervention programs of the federal government, of course, the state of the economy. Don't forget that the homegrown school feeding program was launched last week by the vice president, as well as the NPower, isn't it, that's talking about the employment for 500,000 teachers. But I was also made to understand that people went on the website and they couldn't see anything. It was just static. But we'll be looking at the social intervention programs of President Buhari as it concerns the state of the economy. Of course, the federal government says that it will be rejigging the economy with about 350 billion naira stimulus, but nothing seems to be happening yet. The federal government said that they are aware that Nigerians are facing financial difficulties, economic difficulties. Of course, food prices have soared, a whole lot of things now, prices of foodstuff, transportation, everything has really gone on the high side. What's the state of the economy? We'll be looking at that today, and my guest will be joining me shortly. All right, let's quickly take you through the headlines. The Ministry of Finance has disclosed that a conditional budget support facility to provide financial relief to state governments is being finalized. The ministry said the proposed facility aimed at providing support to overcome the current financial challenges would be subject to states meeting a stringent 22-point reform agenda called the Fiscal Sustainability Plan. The FSP was unanimously agreed by state governors during the National Economic Council meeting held on May 19, 2016. It encompasses a framework of reform measures, including the requirement to publish audited financial statements and budgets, the bank verification number, so that payroll review exercises to sanitize payroll costs and limits on recurrent expenditure levels. Other reforms will also see state governments meeting specific targets to enhance their internally generated revenue, and states are expected to establish efficiency units to reduce overhead costs, privatization of state-owned enterprises, and domestication of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and limits on the amount of bank loans that could be further secured. All right, let's move ahead to the federal, the state and local governments in terms of the amounts that they have gotten in the last 1 year. Our reports have disclosed that the 30 states in Nigeria and the 774 local government councils shared 2.8 trillion naira from the federation account in the last 1 year. The report breaks down the receipts by some of the states as follows: Lagos State 178 billion naira, Akwa Ibom 173 billion naira, Delta State 144 billion naira, Kano State 117 billion naira, Bayelsa State 95 billion naira, Kasino State 88 billion naira, Oyo State 84 billion naira, Kaduna State 83 billion naira, Borno State 78 billion naira. Others are Gombe State 49 billion, Ebonyi State 49 billion naira, also Ekiti 50 billion naira, and Nasarawa State 50 billion naira, as well as Kwara 52 billion, Edo State 66 billion naira, Ondo 71 billion naira, Cross River State 59 billion naira. All right, so many numbers to chew, isn't it? All right, I've been talking about that we need to see the FIRS earnings for the first quarter of this year, and let's know how far the tax agency has gone in terms of getting revenue from tax. A document from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation says that reveals that the FIRS generated the sum of 586.17 billion naira as tax revenue in the first quarter of this year. There was a shortfall of 170.54 billion naira when compared to the 756.71 billion naira earned in the first quarter of 2015. The first quarter tax receipts of 586.1 billion naira was earned from petroleum profit tax, where the sum of 213.3 billion naira was collected in the 3 months. The corporate tax, of course, income of companies, as well as stamp duties and capital gains, were 176.2 billion naira was earned, and we're looking at a value-added tax, which recorded a total receipt of 196.5 billion naira. The low tax collections by the FIRS in the first quarter of this year may threaten the 4.9 trillion naira revenue target set for the agency by the federal government in the 2016 fiscal period. Of course, the harsh economic situation had reportedly affected the profitability of many companies and banks, thus reducing their tax yields. Talking about foreign exchange reserves, latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria indicates that Nigeria's external reserves last week increased slightly, with the 30-day moving average climbing to $26.4 billion as at Wednesday, June the 8th, 2016. Although global oil price has been on the rise, accretion to the reserves was lower than expected as violence in the Niger Delta region reduced the country's oil output, which dropped to its lowest level since April 2015, with crude oil selling around $50 per barrel at international markets. Nigeria's output stood at 57.43 million barrels for March, or just over 1.8 million barrels a day, a decline of more than 3% from the over 2 million barrels a day recorded in the previous month. Angola has now overtaken Nigeria as the continent's largest crude exporter. Now, let's talk about the price of oil today. Prices are falling in early trade, pulled down by rising economic concerns in Asia and a related strengthening in the US dollar, which makes fuel imports for countries using other currencies more expensive. Brent crude oil fell back below $50 per barrel, trading at $49.89 in early trade, down 65 cents, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude was down 78 cents at $48.29 a barrel. All right, let's quickly take a break. Yes, I guess that. And when we come back, I'll be running you through the market numbers, of course, giving you an analysis, the facts behind those figures that you get to see, or that you get to, when you watch the news, stock market went up, it went down. I'll be giving you the details when we come back from the break. To stay with us. All right, let's quickly talk about the markets in Nigeria and across the world. Analysis of the Nigerian Stock Exchange activities in the week ended June 10th, 2016 technically revealed a sustained pessimistic trading pattern as sentiment remained mixed, while investors maintained moderate profit-taking postures in the week. The bears ruled the week, depressing the key benchmark index by 401.8 points against 1,267.83 points loss recorded in the previous week, week to close at 27,232.62. The All-Share Index remains depressed and battered below its key resistance level at 41,957.50. Of course, the alignment of the fiscal and monetary policies towards market economy may continue to drive moderate optimism towards investment in equities. However, the delay on unveiling framework for the new FX regime may continue to weaken investors' risk appetite as macroeconomic fundamentals are still largely bearish. Now let's take a look at other global markets, and I'll start by telling you that the pound sterling, which is the currency of Britain, as well as Asian stocks, fall to a 2-month low today amid uncertainty about the EU vote and the state of world economy. Financial markets suffered falls on Monday amid growing fears that Britain could vote to leave the EU. If we're looking at the blue chip FTSE 100 index of Britain, it hit a 3-week low in early trade today as another bout of Brexit angst hit the city. After Asian stocks also fell the most in more than 2 months. The pound suffered when trading opened after a weekend of contrasting polls about the possibility of a UK vote to leave the EU. Confidence has also been sapped by a steady drip of disappointing economic data in recent days, highlighting an underperformed world economy despite years of massive intervention by central banks around the world. The U.S. Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the United States, as well as the Bank of England and the Swiss National Bank and the Bank of Japan, all will meet this week, and all are expected to hold monetary policy steady against the backdrop of caution heightened by the global impact from a possible Brexit. Okay, we'll continue to follow that closely. Let's quickly take another break, and when we come back, it will be time for us to start our discussion. I'll be having my guests, of course, join me on set. We'll be looking at the state of the Nigerian economy, the social intervention programs by the administration, the poverty alleviation programs, isn't it? Job creation opportunities that the federal government says that it's churning out to make lives of Nigerians better. How will they do that, and will they succeed? There's so much hardship right now in the land. The government says that we understand the hardship, we understand your pains, but just be patient with us. We'll get it all sorted out. 1 year is still too short for us to judge. Let's quickly take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's the Money Show reaching you from the nation's capital, Abuja. My guests are joining me right now. It's a macho house today. I happen to be the only lady. I've always said it many times that I don't get to interview many women. I don't know why. You know, I get to interview many men. If you take the statistics in a year, women not up to 5%. So where are the women? Please come out. All right, 3 gentlemen joining me right now. Start from my immediate left. He is Ngozi Agudosi. He just wants to be addressed as a farmer. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
He said people now should feel proud to be addressed as farmers.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But I hope you don't farm with your cutlass, your hose. Do you still farm with cutlass or hose?
No. We are talking about mechanized farming.
Mechanized farming.
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps I'll come back to that a little later.
Okay.
All right, just close to him is Tony Ejinkonye. He's the president of Abuja Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the program, Mr. Ejinkonye, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're not a farmer, are you?
I am not. But business covers farming.
You know, I understand that because they're saying now that out of everything you're doing, at least we should still have small farms. They are encouraging us that if Nigerians had small farms, this tomato scarcity, we won't have it, you know. While I'm doing my presentation here, I should have a small farm, you know, even at the back of my house or something, and just do something. Welcome to the show. All right, Dr. Emeka Okengwu is a development analyst, and he's joining me here. Good morning.
Morning.
This should be your first time on this show, isn't it?
I would reckon so, yes.
Yes, I think so. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Where can I start from? Let me be a bit biased and start with the Abuja Chamber of Commerce president. At least you speak with your colleagues and all of that. I know the last time you were on the program, we did talk about the state of the Nigerian economy and all of that. Has it improved? At least since the last time you came here till now, tomatoes are not really in the market as they should be. Even the ones that are in the market are not as red as I would like them to be. You know, has the state of the economy improved for the better?
I wouldn't really say so because since my last interview in your program, there has been a gale of retrenchment or right-sizing. The banks will call it right-sizing in the finance sector. There's been a lot of layoffs. And I think by that time, the new fuel regime has not gone into effect. So, and we can say that the economy is really, or businesses are really taking a hit since that period in time.
Okay, let me come back to you, the farmer. You said you do mechanized farming, isn't it? So you use, I suppose, a lot of tractors, a lot of modern equipment. Is that it?
Of course, yes.
Okay, what would you say about those that of the school of thought that when we introduce mechanized farming, that we won't have many people farming anymore, that there will be job losses in the agricultural sector? Do you think so?
Not at all.
What do you think it will do?
It will employ more people. It will create more employment.
In terms of having mechanized farming?
Oh, yes. I'll give you an example. We just talked about tomato.
Yes.
There are too many technologies to do tomato. And if you decide to do choose one that will create employment, you now choose the one we call aquaponics, which you do in open field. You need a whole lot of land, and you create a lot of employment. If you are doing aquaponics to produce like maybe a 60,000 ton of tomato, you need not less than 8 to 15,000 persons to work in the farm. Because you need 3,200 hectares of land, minimum, to do that. So who is saying that if you are doing commercial farming or mechanized farming that people will lose employment?
Because the machines will be doing what?
Machines will do what they are supposed to do.
That people, you know, machines will do what human beings are supposed to do.
First and foremost, human beings should do their own, machines should do his own.
So machines will make it more efficient?
Yes, there are part of it that must be mechanized. And when you are doing commercial agriculture, and you know that you need to employ people, you design it and tailor it towards employing a whole lot of people. And it's a chain, it's a value chain. Farming is a value chain. From cultivation, to processing, to packaging, to marketing, to consumption. So it's a chain.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that, in fact, it's the biggest employer of labor, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I'll come back to you and just ruminate around the question of this social intervention program by the government, especially the homegrown school feeding initiative that was launched last week by the Vice President. Dr. Kenwu, what do you think about the social intervention programs? It's a way of stimulating the economy. The government has said that they understand the hardships and the pains Nigerians are facing right now. What do you think? Is that enough to alleviate the sufferings of people?
You need to look at it from two broad perspectives. The policy perspective and the implementation perspective. You see, as a policy, school feeding is very germane, okay, very commendable, and very needful. But if you do not also now develop the right strategies to engage it, you can actually start killing children in their thousands. Again, you also now need to ask a question. Are you doing food for filling up? Or are you doing food for nutrition? If you're doing food for filling up, then what government is doing right now is apt. If you're doing food for nutrition, then we are very, very, very far away from it. But having also said that, there's also a third element, which is equally very critical, and that is inclusion. First and most importantly, by law, school feeding or schools are supposed to be managed by local governments. Salaries of teachers are paid by the local governments. I was listening to the Minister of Information yesterday, when he said that this was a purely federal government program and that states had no role.
Well, some of the states have come to say that they will not have the finance to support what the federal government
we're not even talking
like
about,
the state government.
We're not even talking about financing now. We're talking about strategy. We're talking about framework. So first and foremost, as I said to you, you must be able to look at it as a policy. Okay? It's a good policy. It's a policy every nation that wanted to develop its human capital early on has adopted. Japan has it, China has it, even in America. Okay, you have school feeding. But what it is you have is nutrition-driven, nutrition-focused school feeding, not what it is you saw, happening in Kaduna, where I even saw. You reminded me so much, in our days after Biafra, when soldiers were sharing their ration, with us as a young Igbo people. Okay, where you now line up, and then they had this. I'm sure you went there then. Anyway, they had this metal place that they put their rations in. And then we'll line up as kids, and then they'll now be, cutting the ration. It reminded me so much of Somali. It reminded me so much of Sudan. It reminded me so much of the IDP camps. Okay? And if you're not very careful, too much of carbohydrates, you lose that child for the rest of the day. Not to death, but to something. It is not going to concentrate. So,
sleeping and...
Oh, yes. So to say it rightly, we should commend the federal government for taking that step. It's a good policy. But I think the bane of most policies we have in Nigeria is that we do not think the implementation strategy is true.
But the policy is a good one?
I mean, it's not even to be commended. It's a given.
It's not to be commended.
It's a given.
What should be?
It's a given. Yes, it's part of the social, responsibilities that government owns to its citizenry. So it's not any wow. What I'm trying to say is that you're giving your kids. You see, remember that these children we're talking about, were people like you 20, 30 years ago. Okay? And you are who you are today. Take it or leave it. Okay? At least 70% because of the kind of food that your parents gave to you. If you probably grew up in one place that you were drinking brukutu morning, afternoon, night, you wouldn't be this cerebral. That's the truth. So what it is you consume, it determines what kind of a grade matters or your IQ. So we are not doing these kids a favor. We are actually,
building the future
doing
of our
ourselves.
country.
Because you see, when you now build children who don't have empathy, what it is they're just going to do is that by the time they take over, sooner than later they're going to start asking you questions. So for me, the program of government is very, very commendable because it is what they are supposed to do. The Vice President the government here should be commended, you know, for doing this social service, but it is a responsibility that they owe, you know, the country.
At least the last administration, in terms of the federal government, did not think of this, let alone initiating a policy or even implementing it. So this administration should be given thumbs up for it. Jonathan administration did not do it at the federal level, though some APC states at that time were feeding their school children, like Osun State and some other states.
Again, I keep saying that I don't believe in administrations, last and present. I believe in government of Nigeria.
Is a continuum?
Okay. There is no policy. If you're also now blaming them for not taking one or two things, you should also thank them for also presenting the TSA, for also presenting the platforms. But all these programs were run by public sector funding. It's my money and your money. You know, this administration has a lifetime of probably a maximum of 8 years. Okay, that's how long the president can be there. Nigeria is going to be there for another 80 years. So I think we should stop this Jonathan administration. It was not Jonathan administration. Jonathan was president. Jonathan wasn't a maximum ruler. He just had a job as president of Nigeria. It was also Nancy Ilo's administration, because you were here presenting your morning show. It was also my administration. So the moment I think my sister will begin to, the Buhari administration, this administration, no, the Buhari administration has not developed their own laws. They are still operating under the constitution.
But they have their own programs. That's why we seem to differentiate.
But you cannot, you cannot.
That's why we seem to differentiate them. The Buhari administration, the Jonathan, the Obasanjo administration, the Yar'Adua administration, because everybody comes out with their own initiatives and ideas along the laws of the land.
Beautiful. That is just the catch. Whatever it is they have as a program, you cannot wake up and say, this is what I want to do. It must be captured in your MTEF, which now makes it part of your program. And most importantly, there is no administration in this country, even the military administration, that has not, you know, recognized social security. There is none.
Okay.
Jonathan also had his own social security programs. But
Bishop
probably,
you win,
whatever it was, I mean, it was inconsequential. What is consequential is that what our country owes us, what our leadership owes us, is what this leader is like. Somebody saying, oh, I've improved their power, let's clap for them. No, we shouldn't be clapping for you. That's what we voted you in there for. You have improved the social services and social security. We shouldn't be clapping for you. That's what we voted in there to do. So for me, I think the moment we begin to stop judging on Jonathan and what Jonathan did, and then begin to, you know, probably now look at years. The years Jonathan I mean, he wasn't minister of a women and youth development. You had a ministry of women and youth development. You should be bringing that minister here to tell Nigerians what he did with the programs he was supposed to be implementing. That's key.
Okay, I'll hold
but can I put in something there? But I still think one should be able to hold individuals
accountable.
You can commend or you can criticize. Like I run an organization. Maybe somebody that came there before me ran the organization better than how I'm running it today. Or I'm running it better than how the other gentleman ran it. So individuals should be at least held accountable. Like he mentioned President Goodluck Jonathan, he was the focal point of that particular government. President Buhari is also the focal point in this particular government. So they're either held responsible, they're either given a hard knock or commended for what they have done or what they have not done. So I still think, and I will agree with him, is for that particular school feeding program, government should be commended at least for taking the initiative. But let us not start judging that Goodluck Jonathan didn't do the same thing.
Okay. For those watching and you want to contribute, all you can do is join us online. You can tweet me right now. Of course, the handle on Twitter is Nancy Lo, and drop your comments. Tell me what you think about what we're discussing today, the federal government social intervention funds, as well as the social programs, this homegrown school feeding program, 5,000 naira to the extremely poor and vulnerable people, 1.6 billion naira for women empowerment. What else again is there? 100,000 artisans that will be empowered, traders. What else? I think 400,000 people again. You know, it's just it's just all there. That's the one my brain can catch now. All right. You want to say something?
Yes. If I want to add to that, Nancy. Government, as at now, they have so many laudable programs. But just like my colleague also said, the structure has to be there. The million naira question is implementation. Is the structure there to drive all these programs? Some of them should be a well articulated programs. You can't just wake up one morning that you are going to give 5,000 naira to disadvantaged or vulnerable people. Who are those vulnerable people? It should have to be a well articulated social safety net for everybody. How do we then identify those people? So, in as much as we commend government, but the problem, I believe, will be in its implementation.
Okay. Mr. Kuzi? Perhaps your sector would, it depends on what you're farming, what you are into. Perhaps your sector will benefit with the homegrown school feeding program.
Yeah.
I guess they'll be giving eggs, chicken, and all that. Or no matter even if it's food, and the food will be sourced from local farmers.
Yeah, my worry is simple. It's anybody can sit down and initiate any program in his or her bedroom or sitting room and come out with it and tell Nigerians this is what I think we should do. But when you look at the implementation strategy, the data are not there. I can tell you, they have launched the one of Kaduna, and they said they have 1.9 million school people, children or whatever, and the feeds or the whatever, the products are not there. They now started bringing some farmers together to go into poultry so that they can produce eggs. You now look at the number of months we take the layers to come up with the eggs, and then these things are, for me, they've designed it to fail, because you cannot just wake up one morning and start a program and then start launching it. There are things you ought to do. There are foundations you ought to lay before you even come out to tell people this is what we want to do. If you want to do school children feeding and your agriculture sector is not functional, then you can't succeed. Will you import this food? When you import, the Europe and the Americans and the people of United Kingdom are running away from what do you call this food? The one they have used chemicals to
Our
cultivate.
beans? Is it the one the EU has extended ban? GM foods.
GM foods. That is what we have all over the place. Is that what we are going to feed these children with? In Kaduna, all the tomatoes in Kaduna for this year, 1 day, 2 days.
What do you think? Why do you think we have tomato scarcity? I spoke to a farmer on Friday, as well as another guest along the agriculture chain. What do you think? You're a farmer. Tell me, do you farm tomatoes?
Yes, tomato is my main focus.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Were you part of those that supplied Dangote according to what we heard?
No.
So what is the real cause of the glut? Why is there scarcity?
Lies.
Lies.
Insincerity of government. I blame the government. And then insincerity of major stakeholders in the business. Dangote will come out and tell you, I have 500,000 or 1 million ton capacity processing plant. I cultivate tomato. I use farmers. If you are producing, like he claimed he's producing concentrate, if you don't have your own farm, you cannot succeed. You can't move one forward.
But must Dangote also have a farm?
Oh yes. Let me tell you.
Should he also have a farm?
Please let me.
Yes.
I think I have to intervene. I think I disagree with you.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
I think he cannot. Dangote cannot be involved in the whole value chain.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. He is starting. Our farmers, still needs a proper orientation of what outgrowing. They are outgrowers that supply the owners of the plant. They have not understood their role. They don't understand it very well. If I give them tomato now to cultivate for me for this season, and you come up with sugar cane by next season and add 2 naira for them, they will abandon my tomato and go for you. And if I should add that 2 naira to bring them back, what of my overhead? I cannot run.
It's a free market.
It's a free market, but if you have your own, you must, as a strategy for you to succeed, have your own backup If you don't have a backup, you cannot succeed.
No, but I understand where you're coming from. But I'm
So
also
for him,
looking
for
at it,
anybody better coming, I'm a major player in Tomato. I can tell you, I'm an authority there. I can take you to my farm in Imo State, and you will see it. You see what we are doing. We are doing greenhouse, okay, for starters. Okay, I know what I'm telling you. I cannot rely on any outgrower. That is even what is happening to rice. Most people that will tell you that they produce rice, they got waivers from federal government and they're importing paddies. Why are they not? But they deceive federal government and said we are using the outgrowers. Why are they not importing paddies?
the question I want to ask you is,
because the outgrowers will disappoint you.
Hello.
If you don't have your upper cup.
Mr. Just hold on and let me come in here a bit. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm also looking at it. What's the cost-benefit analysis? I understand where you're coming from. If another producer or if another industrialist offers them incentive, they abandon what they're supposed to do and go to the other person. But what will be the cost? Will the cost of this, what you're saying, be higher than having a farm in itself? Like what he said, must Dangote be involved or any other person be involved in the total value, in all the value chain? If he wants to do sugarcane, he should have sugarcane farm. If he wants to do tomato, he should have tomato farm. If he wants to do wheat, he should have a wheat farm. Is that what you're saying?
Everything about business is cost. If you can reduce your cost, you can compete very well in the open market. If your cost of production becomes very high, you cannot even sell.
Okay, let me bring in...
Yeah, I think I understand how passionate the farmer in our in our midst is, what he's trying to say. But as a businessman, I know that Dangote wouldn't have invested so much money into that factory without... It's not government, it's a private company. He would have dotted the I's and crossed the T's before he got to where he is. But Mr. Ngozi, I'll tell you, as a businessman, I will definitely avoid a situation where I'm involved. I become a jack of all trades. That is starting from growing the tomatoes to processing it. From processing, I package them, I market the products. Marketing, going into restaurants to go and market my tomatoes. I have to, along that value chain, I have to choose where my comparative advantage lies. So what I believe is that you cannot, as a businessman, do the whole stuff. But if you think, well, like you said, you're a farmer. If you decide for your own that you need not have outgrowers, you need to have the farm yourself, process yourself. But Dangote has chosen a particular business model.
And that's why he failed.
No, he has not.
But that's why he failed.
But hold on, gentlemen.
That's why he failed.
Let me bring you in here.
Because this is a more technical area.
Just hold on.
What I understand is what I understand is there is.
Hold on, gentlemen. Let me bring in Doctor here. You've listened to the arguments. The question also at that time was that because what was being peddled around was that all the tomatoes have gone to Dangote. You understand what we mean? But I said it also last week that I think the GMD of Erisco Foods came out to say that that's a lie. The farmer, hold on, Mr. Ngozi, that the farmer I had here on Friday did say it's a glut season. It's not about Dangote or no Dangote. What do you think? You've listened to both men.
Everybody should have been listening to me. Why should everybody have been listening to me? Because I actually run easily the first of its kind community resource center in Nigeria. You see, when everybody was introducing as a farmer, I actually run an integrated center where I have a bit of everything: cattle, sheep, geese. I even have 1 or 2 crocodiles, tortoises running around my center. The major problem of agriculture is that people do not understand that there are 2 ends to it, what you call the back end and what you call the front end. And in the back end is actually where you now start talking about quality and consistency of quality and brand and breed and type. Right now in tomato, you cannot run a successful grower tomato system if you do not have a tomato seedling facility. You can run a successful processing system without necessarily owning your farms. But you cannot run that processing mill if you do not have control of the kind of tomato seedlings that you're going to be converting into your tomato products. That is why out of all the millions tons of tomato being produced in Nigeria, the Chinese people say that the brand they produce in China can't be matched. So you can now paste both of them. So what do? They end up bringing in this paste from China, and then our own is going rot. However, it is just not only glut that has created the crisis we have today in tomato. You also had a pest you call tomato absoluta. Okay, that has sustained, because another thing that you need at that back end is that you need strong laboratories, you need strong research institutes. Right now, apart from AITA, okay, I don't see any strong research agricultural institute that is either owned by the federal government as an institute under the ministries, or even owned in the educational sectors or systems.
So how will all those things we're talking about impact on the social programs, especially as it concerns agriculture, that the government wants to feed 24 million children?
I was going there. I was just trying to make it. As a child, okay, and I'm over 50 now. I used to live, my father used to work in University of Nigeria and Nsukka. I went to my gates to get milk from the milkman, and the milk was coming from the farm of University of Nigeria and Nsukka. I got poultry, okay, from the people who are supplying poultry to my father's house as a child. I am over 50, I'm a grandfather, okay? As a child, there's no child of my age in Nigeria that didn't plant corn in the school farm, not one. There was no school in my time that didn't have a school farm, okay? So when you're talking about school program or school feeding, the first thing you need to ask yourself is that we have 730,000 hectares of land for agriculture. Go and look at your records. Less than 30% of that land is in use. And the 90% of the 30% that is in use is in the hands of smallholders. And what are we talking about smallholders? We don't even have one plantation. The biggest farm we have in Nigeria today is a 10,000 hectare rice farm being operated by Olam in Nasarawa State. I don't even think the whole 10,000 hectares have been fully cultivated. So your simple question is, how do we now engage this social security system? And it comes to what Ngozi talked about, data. First and most importantly, if you have 24 million children, how many schools are they in? Those schools they are in, do they have facilities that can be able to host? So everybody thinks that family is all about land. No. Family is not all about land. Okay.
So what is it about?
Chicken rearing, you don't need land.
Yes.
Animal husbandry, you don't need land. Of course. Okay.
I don't need land for chicken rearing.
No, what you need is there are vertical farms. Okay, you don't need.
But I need land to place something on there now.
But what I'm talking about is
maybe not as much space as
you see, what I'm trying to say is what you need is a platform. Okay, so it's important, first and most importantly, that each time I avoided very much to get drawn into this conversation, because if you asked me, I had approached everybody that needed to be approached. I had gone to Ministry of Science and Technology. They had visited my center. I had gone to Ministry of Agriculture. You cannot believe it. I can't even get a report out of that visit as I speak to you of something that is that important. So the major issues we have in Nigeria, my sister Nancy, is that we do not think our things through. And thinking it through means you must identify the demands of your back end. And this is why people like Ngozi can effectively say to you, Dangote is not doing much. But if Dangote had a seedling facility where he says to you, this breed of tomato
is what I want,
would go well with this type of soil. It is not what I want, because what you want might not be what the soil can be able to accommodate. And then you can begin to now do the ramping up. So I think these are the major issues.
Okay, let me just read a few comments coming through on Twitter, because Nigerians too are reacting. Tokpe Ademola says, End Power Initiative for the unemployed youth targets 18 to 35 years old. What about the unemployed who are above 35 years? Any plans for them? I really don't know that, because it's 18 to 35 that the federal government did say, but we'll find out from them. Trinity says, for the school feeding program, is it for federal state schools alone? What happens to others who can't even go to school? I think the incentive there is that you must be in school, and it's also an incentive for parents to send their children to school. Okay, Trida says, homegrown school feeding program is welcomed, but there is still more to be done. Hygiene and type of food is important. Just like you said earlier on, you know, you just have to give your children good food to be able to develop and be cerebral, have good gray matter.
Just like the one they gave to you, huh? When you were growing up.
And you too. At least you had the privilege of, were you fed in school?
No, because we lived on campus.
Okay.
There was no feeding program.
There was no feeding, because I've never been fed in school. I was fed all the way by my parents and all of that. But anyway, Lord Norley says feeding the students is nice, but are you doing it every day? Why not use the money to upgrade the school facilities? Adewuyi says it still baffles me how realistic these poverty intervention programs can work, especially employing 500,000 teachers. Chima says, secondly, who clapped for the GEJ's administration when it introduced TSA, BVN, and IPIS? Please, it's Nigeria, and government is a continuum. That's the much I can take. Now, the 500,000 teachers, just as we close, 500,000 teachers that will be employed by the federal government.
Have they been employed already?
No, that will be employed.
I have another,
the initiative.
I have another worry.
Well, it was supposed to be
Are they already?
No, they are not.
They have to be employed first. They have to be trained.
It's
again.
a plan by federal government to employ 500,000 teachers.
Probably
Half a million.
Talking as a development person now, I have a little bit of a worry. You see, training a teacher is a tough call.
Wait.
Okay, training a teacher is a tough call.
Yes.
The kind of teachers that taught us, I don't know about you people, I keep talking about us.
I had good teachers too when I was growing up.
No, they needed to pass through what they call the teachers training colleges. In fact, at one time you had the one for women alone. They needed, there was a lot of oversighting and superintending by what you call, you know, people who came from the, other people. Well, I wish our government, we must be optimistic about Nigeria. I am very optimistic. Okay. The programs are good. What Nigeria needs to do is, what is the role of NTI? Okay.
Teachers Institute.
Yes, were they the ones? They should have been the ones doing this recruitment. They should have been the ones developing. What's the role of a NERDC? Okay.
Yes.
They should have been the ones.
Education Research
Beautiful.
Council.
So if they had said to us, there's a curricula, then a lot of people who are now consultants can now, based on the curricula developed by these two people, start training these teachers. You can now start doing sandwich programs.
Okay, Mr. Ngozi.
Like I said when I started, I'm worried. My worry is that I know the volume of insincerity in government.
You're talking about this insincerity?
Yes, yes.
Why would you?
Because let's take teachers. I'm fair. Let's take teachers, for example. I was reading the newspapers the other day, 2 days ago, and ANCOP's president and some other stakeholders and the ministers were worried on the low-level SSE students mixing their WAEC. Let's now face secondary school, for instance. When you were in school, you had male teachers, right?
Yes, I did.
And you fear them.
Yes.
You respect them more than the female teachers.
No, I respect my teachers across board.
Listen, let's get it right.
I respected my teachers across board, yes.
You respect your teachers across board, but you fear your male teachers.
I had mathematics teachers that were male.
Yes.
And further maths.
And they are always better. One of the
excuse me, no, I will not take that. No.
I think I must have to learn. I must have to learn my voice. I must have to learn my voice.
Just listen, hear me out.
You don't have
one of the major problems. One of the major problems.
We have to round up the show.
We are rounding up. When you want to recruit teachers, like Rebecca said, cost of training teachers is high. And who are the people that are going to train these teachers? Where are you getting them from? How many male? It is very important. What are the incentives that will make them go back to teaching?
Okay, so you are saying that the incentives are not there.
Yes.
And many men do not want to go into teaching because it's not lucrative.
You say you want to create 500,000 teachers, making it about 13 whatever per local government, 13,000 something per local government or per state. I don't know what it is. Per state, 13,000 something per state. And then, how do you now make it work and make it practical?
Okay, we'll come to
government
that.
will always see their comfort zone.
Yes, okay,
I need to say this so that history can vindicate me that I disagreed.
I disagree with
so
you
that
too.
I disagree about what he said about
male teachers are better than
male
female
teachers are better than female teachers.
Don't take sides. Yeah,
Yeah.
you must disagree based on statistics. So what?
Well, the main thing is
data to disagree.
Well, the main thing is I'm talking for myself.
No, so if you don't
I'm
have
not
data
an
to
education person.
So because you don't
I
have
had
data, you
I was a
had-
classroom teacher for 8 years.
So
So are you saying,
So I can tell you better.
that male teachers are
No,
better?
I don't mind. No, I'm not saying so, but I'm saying
so.
Ngozi
Because
is
I was
wrong.
a classroom
Ngozi
teacher
is
for
wrong,
8
but he
years.
doesn't also have to now be right. Because if he's going to
I
contradict
am
you,
saying that we don't even have the statistics right now.
Beautiful. So both of them will be
And what
discussing
is
it.
the ratio of female teachers to even male teachers?
That's why
now?
none of them qualify to be able to continue with the conversation.
Okay, let me end with you quickly in 10 seconds because we have to end the show. What do you have to say lastly?
Well, what I have to say is that we must have to support government in these new initiatives, support them as businessmen and citizenry in this their program. We shouldn't be. We should really be optimistic in the outcomes.
Okay, I think on that optimistic notes, I'll end the show, though we are seeing some kind of division here and there. But perhaps we'll continue on a later date and see how the social intervention programs of government unfold, so we can come back to this discussion on a later date. So many thanks, Mr. Agudosi, for coming. I wish to come to your tomatoes farm.
Oh, yes.
You know, I need tomatoes now.
Once you're ready, we'll fly you down to Imo State and show you.
No problem. All right, I've been speaking with Ngozi Agudosi, a farmer. You've heard him say that he's a tomato farmer, as well as Tony Ejinkonye, the president of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce, and Dr. Emeka Okengwu, a development expert. We've been looking at the social intervention programs of government, dovetailing into a whole lot of things. So many thanks for your tweets. Thank you for joining us again today. Please join us again tomorrow, same time, God willing, I will be here. I am Nancy Ilo. Be the best you can be the change you also want to see. God bless Nigeria. Bye now.